All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another Monday morning tech chat show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I am Juan Carlos Bagnell, SomeGadgetGuy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast, and the QA stands for question and answer. Every Monday morning, we like to make this an interactive live chat. I'm seeing some fantastic chatter happening in the live chat right now, but my Restream client just borked, so hopefully I can pull that chat back up so I don't lose what y'all are talking about. Hold on, let me see if I can get this up. I can see you all in the Twitch right now. It wouldn't be an SGGQA podcast without some technical calamity. This was today's technical calamity. All right, folks, I think I'm back up and I'm back up and running here. So we've got a lot to talk about. We've got some real fun news to share. I've got first impressions on a new smartphone that I just got my hands on. I am going to adjust my camera just a little bit lower. Give myself just a little bit of a haircut there. Let me make sure I'm in focus. Everything was falling apart. It was good times getting this started, and I'm gonna try and keep tone on this week's show just a little bit more chill. I at the end of last week's show, I was starting to lose my voice and ended up with sort of a hay fever or a head cold. It took me out of commission for 2 days. While I was sick, our air conditioner failed during like the hottest peak of the week. We were having like 95, 98 degrees in the valley, and I had no AC, so I had to spend a whole day getting that fixed up. And yeah, it's just been a week. So I should have shot this on the V50. We actually have some streaming news that might affect my streaming game on mobile devices. But I'm going to try and keep this just a slightly more chill tone so I don't blow out my voice. And hopefully we can keep this podcast under 2 hours this week. So I can actually get some video shot, catch up from all of the time I lost last week. But even though I lost time last week, we still got to do some housekeeping. I still got some stuff done. I still got some videos out, and I'm gonna pull this up here. Do we have an over/under on housekeeping this week? It's gonna be a little shorter. I mean, like for reals. Ooh, Rosted Megapickle chat shirts. I do need to get a shirt version of the Megapickle, so I need to something in there. Jonky, will there be a deep dive of any of the iPhone 11 series phones? I will be circling back to the iPhone 11 at some point. It's just I'm not entirely sure when. And I tried to focus on the iPhone last year, the iPhone XS over the Pixel 3, just in that whole wrapping up the year and what budget I had for new phones and new products. And this year I kind of want to flip that. So I want to make sure I'm spending some time with the Pixel 4 because I didn't spend much time with the Pixel 3. So I'm not sure what iPhone 11 coverage will look like, but especially now that we're out of that first blast, I'm not in a rush to cover the iPhone 11. All right. Let's see. LFA reviews. Good stuff last week, JC. Thanks. And let's get this down here. Okay, so Gary the Fireman is saying 12 minutes. Matt Tyler, under 10 minutes. Let's see. It's 9:04 in the a.m. So let's cover some housekeeping. Go. All right. Clicking into screen share. The major video that I got out, I had 2 major videos going out. Let's say 2 major videos going out. The first one was just simply finishing up my Sony Xperia 1 review, spending a month with Sony's current top of the line flagship phone, a phone that launched at $950, has already had some price drops. You've already seen it on sale, even at Best Buy. So this was a happy homecoming. I haven't really been able to spend enough time to properly review a Sony since the XZ1. So what was that, 2 years ago? And the Xperia 1 was a really refreshing change of pace from all of the things that we consider normal flagship phones. Definitely some pros and cons. I mean, I feel like that's always fair, but it's not really very insightful. You know, you watch a tech review and they're like, well, I mean, this phone has some drawbacks. Well, if it's a popular phone, they're going to be things you get used to. But if it's not a popular phone, they become deal breakers. I don't think there are any serious deal breakers on the Xperia 1, so long as you knew what you were getting into, and there were some fun perks. So that video went live, and of course, because I said some nice things about a Sony, I had a whole bunch of people in my comments telling me how wrong I was. But thankfully, I also had the flip side of some folks who were digging their Sonys and felt like, you know, there were some fair criticisms and then some fair praise. So it was at least heartening to find a few other Sony Xperia fans out there, because I find it tiresome when you do a review on a phone from a company like Sony or HTC, sometimes even LG, and you get that like knee-jerk, I'm so funny reaction. Sony still makes phones? And you're like, I don't want there to be a winner. I really don't. My main team is team competition. And if Samsung is dictating the future of smartphone design, I don't necessarily think that that's the nicest path forward for cool mobile gadgets. The other major, big, huge, awesome, I'm so glad I was finally able to finish this video, the review, Focals by North. I've been spending the last couple weeks with my face in a pair of heads-up display AR glasses, and this is probably the most excited I've been for an accessory in maybe in years. Not like, oh, well, you know, this is completely supplanting the phone or what I'm excited for laptops or for mobile devices, but for an accessory where we had the sort of blast of excitement for wearable technology when Google Glass came out. And then that blew up in everyone's face, pun intended. And then we sort of pivoted and tried to make the smartwatch the destination. And the smartwatch was never going to be the destination. The smartwatch was only another step on this journey of making data and services more accessible and more organic. The entire industry has kind of given up on face computers. We're trying to make AR happen, but we're trying to make that happen through our phones for that accessible consumer experience. And a couple companies out there are starting to play with AR capabilities in headsets, but they're not consumer ready anywhere near. And VR still hasn't found its tipping point. Face computing is really hard. And just the idea that from the time we launched Google Glass to now, we've seen very few other legit attempts at making a consumer heads-up display. So it was very important for me to cover this product and to really use it and to rely on it on a trip. You know, I had it for 2 days and then I jumped on an airplane and like, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can keep my phone in my pocket and really use these things. And so that's the experience that I'm trying to share. It's a longer video. It's a lot of philosophy. And of course, it's getting savaged by the YouTube algorithm. This isn't a product that's brand spanking new. We talked about this at CES at the beginning of the year. So why would we ever follow up or make another video about something like this? So it's I had a core group of people on Twitter sharing it. I am super appreciative to that, but this wasn't in the popularity algorithm, so I think over the last couple of days it's got maybe 2,000 views, and that's a bummer. I'm actually really upset about that. I put a lot of work into this. I tried to share it as aggressively as I could, and it's not getting sort of it's not a recommended video. It's not. I know most of my subscribers weren't even really notified about it. So that's the gig there. I'm probably going to be cutting up pieces of this video to share for the next year. I already cut up a little piece of it just talking about durability, how there have been criticisms that how you might use this could potentially scratch a phone. And you're like, I feel like that's not criticism of the focals, of the glasses, of the little ring controller that you use. That's criticism of how fragile our phones are, and that we should be making more durable products, not less durable products. So that's I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be annoying with this because YouTube borked my video on this, and I want more people to see it. And I'm also tired of playing the wait and see game. oh, well, North did something really cool. Wait for Gen 2 or wait for Samsung or Apple to do it for real. They didn't. They missed. North did it. It's real. So that's my gripe. That's my frustration from over the weekend. LFA, I'm not doing follow-up videos. Well, I mean, I probably will do some, like, how have these aged over a year, but I'm just going to keep resharing cuts of the original review. I put a lot of effort into that, and I'm so tired of playing this YouTube algorithm game. I'm going to start sharing videos to other platforms. That's probably going to be my first video that just goes directly up to archive, and maybe I'll start sharing from archive and my blog directly. This is me at the same time pissed at YouTube, also like, again, taking my ball and going home. It's just, this is too much work and effort to then be held to the whims of an algorithm that would never have supported this video in the first place. So why should I play games with YouTube to try and get them more traffic and more viewership? I'm not pleased. So the last one, and this was just sort of a fun video to put together. It's a little product from Comica. They are an audio manufacturer brand that I have been very impressed with recently. How to use real microphones with your phone or camera. Phantom power. Check out the Comica Link Flex AD2. This is a little portable preamp that you can use to plug in real studio-grade microphones, location microphones, lavalier microphones, power it properly if the mics require phantom power, and plug it directly into a camera or a phone with a 3.5 millimeter jack. And I'm not going to go too much into this. I just told you exactly what this product was. But in reviewing it, I completely shot, edited, and rendered a 4K video, 60 frames per second, on my LG V50 with powering my $1,000 AKG C414 and plugging that directly into the V50 for audio. So there wasn't any like audio sweetening or anything like that. That was the whole chain, perfectly set up, in the camera, edited in the phone, and then shared directly to YouTube. So I'm having a lot of fun putting those videos together because they're starting to look nearly indistinguishable from my Panasonic in my small office. Obviously, my Panasonic has slightly better depth of field, blur, and focus fall off. But that was a fun video to put together. And then also showing off the V50 to say, like, it's kind of cool when you can lock your exposure and your white balance and make pro video out of your phone, because we've never had the capabilities to do pro video before Apple did it. From Matt Tyler, I watched that review and was shocked to hear you say you shot it on the V50. It looked incredible, like a proper DSLR. I thought it looked pretty good. And then again, I'm using a $1,000 studio grade condenser, so I also think it sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go over 10 minutes here. I'm at 10 minutes for housekeeping. There's one other little bit of umbrage that I need to share. This one isn't necessarily my content. I just want to point something out. I have the utmost respect for Gary Explains. He's split off part of his Speed Test G series, and one of his biggest updates is creating a version of Speed Test G that runs on iPhones. I have been struggling to properly quantify performance upgrades from phone generation to phone generation, and Apple has been the biggest stumbling block in talking about new phones, new processors, new performance, and it also seems to be the community least interested in examining any of those marketing claims. Like, Apple says it's the best and the most powerful and the fastest, so we all just shrug and go, yeah, I guess it is. When you try to quantify, when you try to examine those marketing claims, it is exceedingly difficult to capture any of the performance that they're talking about, any of the improvements that they're talking about in real world conditions. It's very easy to find a bar graph of a synthetic benchmark to sort of verify Apple's marketing claims in super hyper-specific applications, like running this one kind of Java test in a browser, or looking at single core performance for this type of SQL databasing. And you're like, well, that's not indicative of average consumer use. That's not like what someone's going to encounter when they're wondering why their iPhone 11 feels just like their iPhone 8 when they're browsing the web and searching through social media. So Gary finally put up his first video comparing iPhone performance. Let me go back into screen share here. The first video, the iPhone 11 Pro Max versus last year's iPhone XS Max Speed Test G. This is the first rundown between the two phones. And I'm not surprised to spoil the video. The iPhone 11 Pro does win, but it's kind of interesting to see where it pulls ahead, where it falls behind. It's not a dominant victory. It's really close. So I shared this video to the R Apple subreddit and the R iPhone subreddit. The R iPhone subreddit buried the video. Like, I don't think you can find it publicly. It somehow is hidden for violating some rule or some sidebar policy that you can't say things about iPhones that will make iPhone owners unhappy. I don't know what their beef with the video was, but it's unfindable. The R Apple subreddit at least let the video post, but again, I think 7 comments and a handful of people looking at it, zero upvotes. So it's been downvoted. And again, from someone who's one of the most reputable voices in the tech community for examining marketing claims and consistently testing performance, the R Apple community, no interest in looking at what actually has improved from iPhone XS to iPhone 11 Pro. So if you're on the Reddits and you want to check that out, you can go to R Apple, and you probably won't be able to find that video very easily. Or you could go to the Glowing Rectangle subreddit, where it was upvoted and was one of the more popular videos of the last week, because you're either just sort of a fan of a company, or you actually do enjoy examining this stuff, this technology, seeing what's improved, seeing what hasn't. And you're looking for ways to join real conversations, not just, I traded in my old phone and I got my new phone, and my new phone is way faster than my old phone, even though I can't really compare them because I traded it. And again, I'm not, I just think it's interesting. I've gotten a lot of people like, oh, well, you can't expect Reddit to be, democratic about stuff like that. But that's also why I pointed out, again, this is user-generated content on a social news site where you upvote content to try and make it more visible and more popular. And if the answer is, well, just shrug and give up, and then don't upvote content and don't share content and don't participate in these forums, then this stuff is all properly dead. Then yeah, the smartphone as an exciting tech product is dead. And mobile technology as exciting conversation is dead. If we're not really looking at this stuff, and if we're not really talking about this stuff, then what are we doing? So, yeah. So that should wrap up housekeeping. It was like I said, it was a week with my hay fevery allergy, head cold blowing up in my face, and our air conditioner dying. And then maybe the most excited I've been to put out a video just getting buried by YouTube. And then also trying to support some other content creators on appropriate forums just getting buried too. Doing this online thing is this last week was not fun. So, excuse me. So I want to have more fun this week, and excuse me. Water went down the wrong pipe. I want to have more fun this week, even though I'm going to sound super dour right now. I am going to focus on things that make me happy, and I'm going to try not to look at comments and analytics and algorithms, because that's a surefire way. So, okay, I post the Focals video. I got to get this off my chest. Housekeeping is going long. I've lost. I post the Focals video, and I'm definitely upset that it didn't perform better, and that it wasn't really getting shared or viewed or commented on. Like I was hoping we'd see some kind of traffic for it. And I'm in my Discord, just kind of chatting with some of the folks from Patreon, and as soon as you start bringing that stuff up, you instantly fall into the trap of, but how can we appease the YouTube algorithm? And I'm looking at this other channel, and they're doing all these other things, and I'm looking at some of your videos, and if you did videos like these, then maybe it would be more popular, and then maybe YouTube would recommend you. I mean, it is so insidious. It is so disturbing how conditioned viewers are to look at how do we appease software which constantly moves the goalposts on us and constantly changes the conditions of what makes for engaging and popular content. And it's an almost automatic reaction now. It's not, are we really trying to build a community of people that are into a diverse set of topics? It's not, are you a really focused channel, but you're talking about something that's maybe only popular to a niche community? It's almost instinct now to say, oh, but if you just did camera comparisons, like if you just turned your channel into camera comparisons, you'd be so much more popular. Or if you focused more on these phones, then you'd probably get a bump to your other phones. And that's completely not true. From the time I left Pocket Now to now, in looking at analytics and digging into all of these numbers, that never really held true. If you go through and you look at, the real camera reviews on Pocket Now, the popular phones scored well. The less popular phones never got a bump from the popular phones, and that's one of the reasons why we were seriously discussing ending that series and only doing camera deep dives on popular phones. This is now being horrifically informed by the audience, which sort of expects that we're just gonna stick with the trending topics, and occasionally we'll take a hit and look at something less popular or something that isn't just, on the bleeding edge of search engine optimization. I don't want to do that. I really don't. I really don't want to shift my channel up to only play that game. And it's not even working for the big channels anymore, because the big channels have all largely strayed, have all largely walked away from trying to spread out any part of their tech discussion. So again, I keep bringing this up. When you see top big YouTube channels starting to get into podcasting, that's how they're still broaching some of these subjects and some of these topics, and then not getting absolutely eviscerated by the YouTube popularity metric. From LFA Reviews, if your video does well, they move the goalposts for your next video to get promoted. The algorithm is brutal and seriously messes with creators' mental health. I've seen many of my creator friends go through it, been there myself. Yeah, it's pretty gross. And for Matt Tyler, now it's become more about the money. The thing that's frustrating is YouTube ad metrics and ad buys used to be so much more powerful before we saw this rampant manipulation of time on site. Right now, YouTube is trying to play nice with advertisers because of a couple very large and public gaffes on YouTube's part regarding larger content creators. But we're creating a platform which strays from the original mission of YouTube, and I don't think that sustainable long-term growth will be economically viable in this form either. So I'm not sure what the answer is, short of trying to drive traffic back to individual websites and blogs and finding other methods for reasonable video hosting costs. And that, right now I'm just going to use YouTube as free server space so that I don't have to hit my own web traffic hosting fees too hard. But like I said, I'm going to focus on some more fun stuff. And I'm complaining about this and I'm preaching to the choir because we're complaining about YouTube on Twitch. So why don't we get into some news? I finally have some politics to talk about. It's been a while since I've dug into some FCC news, but this was just a little gem, a little bright, shining, temporary relief of how terrible the tech political conversation has been. And we don't need to spend a ton of time on it because I know how people get twitchy about politics. But coming from thehill.com, written up by Justine Coleman, court strikes down FCC media ownership rules. And from the article, it's not a very long article either. A federal appeals court struck down an effort by the Federal Communications Commission to relax media ownership rules. The Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the FCC move to end a decades-long ban against one entity owning both a newspaper and TV station in a major market, citing a lack of consideration into the impacts on ownership by women and racial minorities. So, again, this is a rule that's been in place for decades, that one entity or one person can't just roll into a community and buy up all of their media to control what news and information is disseminated locally. We've seen, mostly on the conservative side, chipping away at some of these media ownership and media property guidelines, and this has allowed mega corporate conglomerates to take over a humongous quantity of radio stations and local TV news stations, print, newspapers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I think is kind of funny is, in 2017, Ajit Pai, leading the FCC, wanted to just basically gut the rest of this rule and just why pretend that we're not letting mega corporations take over all of our local media. Let's just get rid of this rule and we'll let the market decide after the deck has already been stacked in favor of the winners in this space. Really just destroying any hope of legitimate grassroots competition for media publication and ownership. So, this was Ajit Pai's response, which is just hilarious in how much of a shill he is for the telecommunications industry. It's become quite clear that there is no evidence or reasoning. Newspapers going out of business, broadcast radio struggling, broadcast TV facing stiffer competition than ever, that will persuade them to change their minds in a response to the court ruling. And I want that to sink in, because while we've seen these rules eroded, the rules which prevented conglomerate media ownership, we've seen newspapers going out of business, broadcast radio struggling, and broadcast TV facing stiffer competition from other sources. There's a subreddit, Self-Aware Wolves. Again, Ajit Pai is pointing exactly to the problem that this law helps solve. Oh, we've seen, corporate radio just fall apart. Well, yeah, because no one wants to listen to the same pop tracks with no local DJs cultivating the content on, a radio streaming service that just farts the same playlist out to the entire country. So, of course, a service like Spotify and the popularity of podcasts, where you can find homegrown local content, diverse points of view, diverse conversations, of course, that's going to savage a globally owned media conglomerate radio station. Making that easier for corporations to own all of the media in one area is not going to make this better. That's going to make it way worse. So, Third Circuit Court, thanks for, striking this rule down. We're going to see another appeal. It's probably going to make it up the food chain to a point where someone will let this rule pass. And if you care about your local newspaper, your local TV stations, your local radio, it'll eventually get hit. But just this one moment right here, watching Ajit Pai beautifully explain what the problem was while he was actually trying to make the problem worse. Just that little glowing, awesome moment of political discourse, and it got a chuckle out of me. From Abraham Artemis. Out from the bleak, in with politics. Oh dear. Matt Tyler, definitely keeping me informed on what's going on with Brexit. It looks like our prime minister will be removed from power before the election, so I don't see any big tech companies investing or being willing to promote things in the UK for a bit. Tech and politics have never been more tied up, even though politics should stay out of the tech market. It's all politics. I mean, if you can say, politics should stay out, that is a luxury, right? That is a privilege. But right now, if we were to get politics out of the tech market, we already have stacked the deck against consumers. So we need a corrective action, and it's not going to come from the market because the market is already lopsided. So, yeah, again, this AKG, I love it. He can always tell you exactly what the problem is because he created the problem and he's making the problem worse. This is another one. I am actually not as doom and gloom on this as the tone of this next article. I'm not as doom and gloom on this as this article would sort of indicate. I think this is going to be the next very interesting market to watch, where subscription services are very quickly, very rapidly taking over all of our content and media distribution. And sorry, I just saw Gary the Fireman. It's that stupid coffee mug of his. I hate AKG's big, dumb, stupid coffee mug. Sorry, back to the next story. We've seen this happen with media like TV shows and movies. Now everyone is trying to replicate the success and the business model that Netflix really pioneered for the consumer space. Obviously, if you were into video game publishing and video game distribution, you would be looking at that model with a lot of interest to see how you might be able to capitalize on some of that too. We have not landed that perfect combination of distribution and server-side performance that Netflix has. Netflix has three things, but two major things going for it: a diverse catalog and offloading the processing. It's just the stream. So something like Google's Stadia is offloading the processing power, but you don't get the catalog. Something like Microsoft Game Pass is the huge catalog, but you're still playing the game locally. We haven't really found that perfect staple to create the Netflix of gaming. That to me will be when we merge those two ideas, where you don't have to have a monster powerful box to play the game, and you pay one monthly subscription to enjoy a huge catalog of gaming titles. That's when we'll have created the Netflix for games. But at the same time, catalog seems to be the first foray. So we're seeing Apple Arcade, $5 a month, and now Google Play Pass has also gone live, $5 a month. And we're looking at premium mobile titles that don't lean too heavily on microtransactions or other pay-to-win mechanics. Those are the titles that are becoming a part of these mobile models. I also talked about recently, there's another game service that's actually closest. It's called Hatch. Hatch is going to get wrecked by Apple Arcade and Google Play Pass, but it is actually the combo. It streams the game server side, and you get a subscription of titles to choose through, a catalog of games that you can play through. Going up on IGN, I'm going to pull up the screen share here. Developers raise alarm over their cut of Google Play Pass subscription money. And this was written up by Matt Kim, and it was updated a couple days ago. Google announced the Google Play Pass today, a new subscription service for Google users, but an FAQ explainer on how royalties for developers work has some industry professionals worried about game sales moving towards a Spotify model, a model that has been heavily criticized in the past. According to Google, developers earn a royalty that incorporates time subscribers spend in their app and captures how users value all types of content, from weather apps to epic endless runners. Google says that this royalty model isn't set in stone and that it is continuously refining the model to make sure it fairly rewards titles that bring the highest user value. But game developers say this resembles the way streaming services like Spotify pay its artists. So the concern, and I'm going to have all of the links, obviously, in the show notes. Once the audio version of the podcast goes live, you can go back, you can check out each individual story. I would highly recommend reading through this because right now, it's not a problem. This is a fresh new service from Apple and from Google. Consumers are just now starting to latch on to the idea of these subscriptions, of how to pay for content in a different way. And we don't really have data. So it's not the sky is falling. It's let's see if the sky falls, and let's see if we need to change how these games are monetized and how these games are rewarded. This article does bring up a very valid concern, though. So let's say you're an indie developer and you make some really cute or charming, shorter form gaming experiences. Something like a Monument Valley, where you can play through Monument Valley 1 and 2 and all of the expansions and have just like a beautiful puzzle-solving time. And it's a couple hours for that full experience from 1 to 2 with all the expansions, and you're satisfied. That's not a title you go back to replay. Once you solve the puzzle doesn't change. It's not like an endless puzzle-solving environment. But it's beautiful and it's atmospheric. My entire family, my octogenarian grandmother has played through the first Monument Valley. It's so sweet and it's so accessible and it's so pretty. You would hope that developer is rewarded for crafting a beautiful and nuanced experience. However, if it's more of a Spotify style model where your compensation is based on time spent in the app, then you will absolutely get savaged compared to other games which are focusing more on that multiplayer online competitive environment, lots and lots of grind, lots and lots of player interactions. You're going to get sucked more into that continuing experience over a longer period of time than the joyous find of finding just that one well-crafted nugget of a game. It's the difference between like a Team Fortress and Portal in the orange box, right? Portal, you can sit down and beat Portal in like 3 hours on your very, very first playthrough, but Team Fortress is where, Valve was going to make all of their money on microtransactions and funny hats and skins for your characters. I got so much more value out of that one sit-down 3-hour experience from Portal, more memorable moments, more quotable lines, the end title credit song, "This was a triumph," will stick with me for the rest of my life. Team Fortress 2 is a blur. I've had tons of fun playing Team Fortress 2, but none of it was going to latch on and be a memory like the entire playthrough of my first playthrough of Portal, and just how subversive it was for a value add-on nugget of a game. So I would recommend. IGN has a great write-up here, and they've quoted some very thoughtful comments from game developers and from game publishers about where the future of this is going. And this is another one of those opportunities. We keep laying this on consumers and say, vote with your wallet. But let's be honest, the market moves way too fast for consumers to really properly react. Novelty is addictive. Novelty is exciting. This is new. This is bright. This is shiny. This is fast. And you acclimate faster than when you really try and make a rational consideration based on what's going to be not only best for your wallet, but then also good for the industry, really trying to support the types of business interactions that you want to have with game developers. if this leads to more online competitive content, that's going to be sad for me because I don't really enjoy those gaming experiences that much anymore. I don't grind online competitive video games so that I can be competitive against other people. I am definitely becoming more and more a story-driven and narrative kind of gamer. You know, I want a couple movies worth of value and a really good, tightly written story. God of War, finding that refresh, last year was so exciting, seeing that property evolve into a totally different type of narrative and structure. While it's still about, gods and gore combat, puzzle solving in a very console kind of style. That's what I want to celebrate. I'm never going to be the guy who's super into like an Apex Legends or a Fortnite, dying until I get good. It kind of reminds me of like that WoW episode of South Park. Like you had to grind, and now you finally get to play the game. I'd rather just play the game. Oh wow, I've got a lot of people talking about starting the day off and listening to me talk. I wish I wasn't so congested and I could give you the full range of my dulcet tones. Abraham Artemis and Aditya Anil, welcome to the live chat. Abraham Artemis, single player games for the win. Goran Petrovic, tons of corticosteroids and painkillers will solve the problem. Goran, tons of corticosteroids and painkillers will solve any problem and will solve every problem. So just a little nugget of news because I can't help myself in being a bit snarky and taking a shot at this product because I don't think it's a real product. Galaxy Fold was apparently refreshed. Doesn't seem to be any more durable than the first alpha version. This is Galaxy Fold Alpha 2. And this is coming by way... Oh, I've got the Reddit post up here. Let me click in. This was coming by way of The Verge, but lots of outlets reported on this. Samsung will let Galaxy Fold owners replace their screen once for $149 if you buy it before the end of the year. So if you buy a Galaxy Fold before the end of December 2019 for $1,980... And even with the crazy number of sort of precautions, like when you get your Galaxy Fold, it pops up and says, don't feed it after midnight, don't get it wet, don't rub it with a fingernail because your fingernail will break the screen, and it's not sealed at all against dust or sand or dirt or moisture. If you don't use it like a phone and you use it like a museum art piece, it'll still probably break on you. And so for the first year that you own it, it's not like a screen replacement. You remember HTC, I think, used to do like a one free screen replacement. Well, this won't be free. We couldn't expect Samsung to support their products like that. $149. And something tells me that's, what, a third the cost of a screen replacement on the Fold, full retail? I have no idea. But yeah, this is a $2,000 vanity alpha build that Samsung is going to get to work consumers for, and $149 for your one screen replacement. It just doesn't speak to a lot of confidence in the product, right? What was the Chris Farley movie where they're selling widgets or something, and he has that rant about, well, I could poop in a box and sell you a warranty. I think there are so many issues inherent to folding gadgets like this. What do we think? 3 to 5 years? 3 to 5 years before we can make this more of like a mainstream category with the durability that a lifestyle companion gadget might expect. I want to be more excited about folding technologies, but I don't think it's phones and tablets. I don't think replacing Android tablets with super fragile mobile devices is really the killer app. I just feel like this stuff is going to find its way into other industries, into the automotive industry, into the wearable technology industry. And that'll be where this stuff can really benefit the consumer experience, not I made a clumsy square tablet that kind of folds up into a phone. Isn't that great? But I will still keep saying, if you can give me a regular phone that folds in half to be like a little square notification device, I'd be more excited about that than a big, dumb, clumsy, notched, fragile tablet. I'm just not that excited by Android tablets. Aditya Anil, Galaxy fooled, you mean? From PatStar5, I guess if you're rich and have money to throw, then why not get a Fold? For everyone else, it doesn't make sense. These devices need to get quite more durable. Curious to see how Motorola's Razr will turn out. That's the one I'm really looking forward to see if they can find a way to seal it up better. Motorola and Lenovo, really good at designing hinges. I have those exposed clockwork gears on a Lenovo tablet. They have been phenomenally durable and phenomenally resistant to just being chucked into bags and thrown into suitcases. That tablet has held up way better than I would have expected for those like rolling clockwork gears. So if any company has the manufacturing prowess, the experience to make folding style designs, it's Lenovo. It's whether or not they can seal up the screen properly so that we can get around some of these durability issues like I got a piece of grit behind the screen and now the screen is dead. I'm not really going to be excited about folding devices and plastic screens until I can play a dual stick shooter on them and not worry about wrecking the phone through my normal Android gameplay. Oh, Gary the Fireman and damn it, Adrian, Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy was the movie where Chris Farley talked about pooping in a box and selling you a warranty. Aditya Anil, it's a $2,000 Swarovski crystal showpiece, but not Swarovski and not easy on the eyes. It's also less durable than a Swarovski crystal. And from Zalbotnik, yes, a new Motorola StarTAC. I have to. I know I talked about her last week, but Issa said she did a video on the Nokia flip phone. It's a feature phone. It's a flip phone. I think it retails for $100. We're not talking the most exciting bleeding edge of technology, and it even has a T9 input. It's not like a touchscreen with a keyboard like a Galaxy Flip. But go check out her video. It's just been so exciting watching someone get excited about a gadget that makes itself smaller, right? We're in this era of I need 6-inch phablet phones bordering on 7-inch diagonal screens. And she's absolutely right. Not everybody, and probably a minority of the market, not a majority of the market, but there is a group of consumers who are being left out who want a smaller, more discreet lifestyle companion communications device. And a flip phone like that starts to make a lot of sense. And her video on that was just really entertaining and was a lot of fun because I also share some of those gripes. Like I miss having Xperia XZ compacts and iPhone SEs to talk about at the premium end of the market. So from Abraham Artemis, haha, Memix Alpha. I heard you like screens. We're going to be talking about the Alpha once we get past the Reddit block. Another quick bit of news that I hope doesn't create too much of a disruption. This is a product I use mobile. So I hope it's under good care after this acquisition. I got to take another sip from the coolest pickle-themed technology mug on the market. Going back into screen share just for a press release. Logitech agrees. Let's try that again. Logitech agrees to acquire Streamlabs, adding streaming tools to its gaming offerings. This is hot off the presses. Logitech International today announced that it has agreed to acquire Streamlabs of San Francisco, California. Streamlabs is a leader in software and tools for live streaming, allowing game streamers to engage with viewers, grow their brands and channels, and monetize their broadcasts across platforms like Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, and Facebook. What did they say? Okay, Logitech has agreed to acquire Streamlabs for approximately $89 million in cash, with an additional payment of $29 million in Logitech stock, subject to the achievement of significant revenue growth targets for Streamlabs. So this is what makes me just a little bit nervous. One, Logitech and Streamlabs makes a lot of sense together. It's very much like how when Corsair bought Elgato. We're talking about companies that have a lot of consumer mindshare overlap with services. I really think Logitech with Streamlabs could be a good fit. What makes me nervous is Streamlabs has built like a good chunk of its user base and mindshare on freely accessible tools. And so if Logitech is dangling an almost $30 million carrot in front of the Streamlabs team to find ways to meet significant revenue growth targets, then I worry that some of those services that I really, really enjoy might start getting altered to better support ways to monetize those services more aggressively. When you make those changes too fast, you run into some big problems with the community of people who are using those products. I use OBS, just generic OBS to stream this podcast. But if you're on mobile, the Streamlabs app on Android is so stinking good. If you want to screen share some gameplay, if you want to co-stream to other services, like if you want to stream to Twitch and Mixer at the same time, the Streamlabs app is phenomenally good, and it's free. And then you can use the app to also control your desktop stream. So to me, the thing that makes me nervous is will we see a new version of that app come out where, oh yeah, if you just want to plug in this one service and hit stream, then you can go. But if you want to see your chat, well, that's going to be, $2.99 a month. Not even just can you buy the app. The thing that's making me nervous, the thing that's making me afraid is we'll find some way of making it yet another subscription that creators have to jump onto. You want to edit video? I mean, why buy a $20 app when you can spend $3 a month subscribing to your app to edit video? I'm getting real tired of so much of this stuff getting split up and become another add-on credit card monthly charge. LFA reviews, paywall. Kiwi Mad Dog 420, they also bought Blue. They buy Blue microphones? Does Logitech own Blue microphones? Hold on, I got to look that up right now. Blue microphones, Logitech. Yeah, I totally missed that. It was last year. Logitech acquired Blue microphones for $117 million. So that also kind of makes me sad because the legit studio side of Blue microphones used to be amazing. I had a Blue Kiwi, a Blue Berry, and then a Blue Bird. Phenomenal studio grade, thousands of dollars for, just gorgeous microphone quality. But obviously, I think Blue was making more of their cash on, how to sell another Yeti or make a snowball or some other type of USB style solution. So that's kind of a bummer. All right. Let's see. I've got two more quick stories. Let's see. LFA reviews. Notice how the new Logitech gaming headsets have seriously good mic quality now? Oh, and Matt Tyler, go take care of your daughter. I love you in the live chat, but if your family needs you, you don't have to stick around for my podcast. I'm not that important. So actually, I haven't played with a Logitech gaming headset in the last year. I'm gonna have to see if I can figure that out. I just recently did that Sennheiser GSP, and I have an Audio Technica, which is rocking my socks for a wireless gaming headset. So those will be my next ones. But I need to get around back to a Logitech, especially if they're using blue microphones. And from Abraham Artemis, I hate now how Adobe made their apps into subscriptions, really considering Darktable in the future. And I think it's an opportunity when, at least for Adobe, they're trying to offer you this subscription ecosystem. It's annoying, but I get it, especially for someone who subscribes to Office 365. I kind of understand the value of an ecosystem subscription that always keeps me on the newest software with the newest features. And if I were considering just buying it outright or spreading out payments over a longer period of time, it kind of balances. What I'm annoyed by are some of the other players in the space that say, oh, well, Adobe made their video editing app subscription. I guess we can too. And you're like, sorry, KineMaster, I don't think you have as much to offer in a subscription. I would really love to just buy your app outright and then talk about it a whole bunch and then see if it's not worth building a community that way. But I'm not going to, pay you every year or every month to keep using the same app. So, okay, I guess we're done. Goran Petrovic, a new wireless Audio Technica? Yes, a new wireless Audio Technica. I'll be breaking that bad boy in this week. Hopefully have a video out on that next week. Just a little, because this is a story that just keeps morphing. And again, it's kind of leaning on tech and politics a little bit. But again, I'm trying to stay a bit more positive. I'm not trying to make everything super cranky. 20 Miles is in the live chat. Everyone say hey to 20 Miles, 1975. Qualcomm and Huawei. Qualcomm and Huawei allowed to resume trading. Now, this is written up by Kit Guru James Dawson. Again, was published yesterday. Sorry, I got to take another drink of water here. 1 second. All right. Qualcomm has confirmed that it has resumed trading with Huawei once again after tech firms lobbied for the U.S. government to ease up on the sanctions imposed against the Chinese smartphone manufacturer. Qualcomm CEO Steve Mollenkopf said that the company is selling components to Huawei again and is looking to seal a long-term supply deal with them. This should be a huge relief for Huawei, as Qualcomm plays a significant role in the smartphone component market and is often ahead of the competition in regards to performance. As the U.S. trade dispute continued, the U.S. put Huawei on a blacklist, labeling the company as a threat to national security and prohibiting American companies from conducting business with them. This led to a whole bunch of issues, including Huawei's Android license being pulled and stopping smartphones and laptops from being sold, just as the company was attempting to crack into Western markets. The situation has changed a bit in the last couple months, with the U.S. now allowing companies to trade with Huawei once again, as long as there is no risk to national security. The fact that Qualcomm and Huawei may resume trading is good news for both parties, as Qualcomm recently blamed a 13% year-on-year revenue dip on the Huawei ban. So, Huawei is dangerous. They're on the entities list. So you can't do business with them unless you can somehow promise that it won't risk the U.S.'s national security, and then you can totally do business with them again. The way we keep moving the goalposts on this is just getting sillier and sillier. Either they're banned and companies can't do business with them, or you're just making these corporations jump through hoops to verify some sort of security policy, and then it's just back to business as usual. It's a completely toothless trading ban. It doesn't address anything of any substance in this market for what the claims are against Huawei as this dangerous entity for security and for privacy. And just the fact that Qualcomm was the first to jump back in, excuse me, means that I'm very confident we're going to be seeing the trading of technologies, and technologies that probably have something to do with the telecommunications infrastructure, not just the individual components that go into our phones, which is what kicked off this whole arms race of bans and tariffs in the first place. 20 miles, 1975. Ah, yes, that's what'll make the policy change. The good old impact to the dollar. The only color that matters, green. Abraham Artemis. Ah, yes, dangerous. And Kiwi Mad Dog 420. That's lobbyists for you. Again, it's impossible not to be cynical about this stuff because none of this really seems to have any consistent impact on consumers or business or anything, on consumers or privacy or security or anything like that. We haven't seen the evidence to support this type of product ban. And the same thing happened with ZTE to a lesser degree. Not when they were sort of caught up in a tastier scandal regarding trading with and selling technological components to countries like Iran. But, they're back. I'm going to try and get my hands on an Axon 10. It's not high on my list of priorities, but I'm curious. I want to see what they do. I did just, I've got it over here. I did just replace, when I left Pocket Now, I had to give this huge box of phones back. And I was very honest and gave back I gave back everything that was acquired through Pocket Now's PR channels. And I kept a few phones for myself, just for my own personal PR contacts. But the one of the phones I was most upset to send back to Pocket Now was the Axon 7. And I finally tracked one down in beautiful condition. None of the box or accessories or the case or anything, but the phone, it looks like it was just sort of put in a drawer and never used. Axon 7 is back in my catalog of museum pieces. One of the most important phones of its time. Just an absolutely stunning piece of audio tech and just a brutal competitor for its time with that Snapdragon 821 and the Quad HD display. I mean, it's a monster device, and I'm probably going to do a video on that instead of talking about an iPhone 11 because reasons. But again, just as we were starting to see ZTE break into Western markets, the telecommunication side of the business created a political scandal that wrecked the consumer gadget side of the business. So I fully expect that Huawei will probably find a similar outcome this time next year. If we're not talking about them returning to sort of business as usual, I'll be very surprised. Now, Kiwi Mad Dog 420, what ZTE did not do is bring back the spirit of the Axon 7. It's tough. If the spirit of the Axon 7 is audio, then yeah, I completely agree. Headphone jack is still incredible. Dual front-facing stereo speakers. It's just a dream device if you were a fan of old school HTC. But if the spirit of an Axon was drastically undercutting the price of what we accept a premium phone to be, then I think the Axon 10 can make an argument for still playing in that space. It's a $550 phone with specs that can rival $800 or $900 phones, just as the Axon 7 was a $400 phone that easily rivaled phones that cost around $700. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Obviously, if you get rid of the headphone jack, I'm going to get pissy. But I think there's still something to be said for the argument the manufacturer is making is to go up against what's popular at a more competitive price without sacrificing too much of the experience along the way, or in many cases, sacrificing none of the experience along the way. Adichie Anil, ooh, that phone looks beautiful. 20 miles, 1975. I heard the speakers were baller. The speakers are pretty good. The headphone jack, still. I did my audio test on the Axon 7 again, just to make sure I wasn't like just romanticizing the past. And yeah, it's still the second place competitor against LG phones. If you really want an incredible headphone experience, an Axon 7 just utterly demolishes Galaxy phones today. From Vazikos 8, can Dolby Atmos on phones reach front-facing speakers? I don't really think a lot of those Dolby 3D spatial manipulations mean much to phone speakers. I mean, when the stereo spectrum is this close, you know, like it's just slightly wider than the sides of my face, and it's not even quite as wide as the placement of my ears. You can do some interesting things with that, but it's not really like Dolby, right? I mean, you got to plug in some headphones and do something a bit better than that. So before we get to the Reddit break, I've got one more topic, and I'm not gonna hit this too hard because it's a Twitter thread that then also links to some scientific studies. And we've had a couple of these studies come out analyzing the behavior of our televisions in our living rooms. And not like it's a cop-out, like I'm going to, I don't want to get too deep into this. I actually want you to be well-read on this and not just suffer through my semi-literate opinion of this news. Try and dig through some of these studies, at least read through this Twitter thread that I'll have linked in the show notes after this is wrapped up. But we've always assumed that products like phones, smart speakers, televisions, they track our behavior. They pay attention and note all of our sort of interactions with those products, and they build a model on us. These studies that are coming out now are exposing how deep some of this behavioral modeling has gotten on products that we have taken for granted as being somewhat dumb and inert. So let me get into the screen share here. Excuse me, sorry. I'm really trying not to cough into the microphone. So at Random Walker compiled this Twitter thread. When we watch TV, our TVs watch us back and track our habits. This practice has exploded recently since it hasn't faced much public scrutiny, but in the last few days, not one, but 3 papers have dropped that uncover the extent of tracking on TVs. Let me tell you about them. So we're going through ads and analytics, talking about Roku channels, Amazon Fire TV, exposing how when you disable ad tracking on a Roku, it might actually expose you to more ad trackers in a very weird and backwards kind of sense. And then there was another study that started analyzing the acoustic modeling and behavior of our televisions, where certain televisions are actually, certain commercials and certain programs are emitting super high frequency tones that then also further track what it is that we're doing in our living rooms. And then some of this also just confirms. I mean, some of this is important just for confirming our feelings. This is a later tweet. Some of their findings are what you'd intuitively expect. Devices made by Chinese companies tend to talk to Chinese servers. Other findings are more surprising. Nearly all TVs that tested contacted Netflix, even though they never configured any TV with a Netflix account. So there's communication going back and forth between ad services, between streaming services, and then you likely don't have much control over where that data is going to be sent and stored. This is a really fascinating deep dive into general consumer electronics and some of the challenges we're going to face in safeguarding smart home content, smart home products, when everything we have around us has some kind of data connectivity. I mean, we might take it for, our thermostat. What could our thermostat be doing? It's a computer. there's a chip in there that computes, and if it's not properly protected, it could become part of a zombie botnet. It could be tattling on you to various organizations or other companies. It could be used maliciously. It could be used even more beneficially in your daily life. But if we're not aware of how these things are going down, and if we're not paying attention to some of these changes, where it's completely insufficient to read through an end user licensing agreement, that's not sufficient disclosure. Here's 150 pages of legalese to let you know what your obligations are in relation to operating in the use of this product. No, that's not enough. That's really not enough to let consumers know that their TV is tracking their living room behavior, is listening to them interact with other services, and is sending that data to a variety of corporations up for the highest bidder. So this is the very beginning. These 3 studies, the forefront of this type of disclosure and research. And something tells me it's probably going to get a lot worse with smart products in our home before it gets better. I just love this one tweet. Here's a doozy. Roku has a limit ad tracking option. Turning it on increased the number of tracking servers contacted. It did prevent Roku's ad ID from being leaked, but a whole bunch of other unique IDs are available. Even Pi-hole wasn't that effective at limiting tracking. So even some of these services that we use to try and mitigate where our data goes and what ads we're exposed to might just be placebo. Might just, it makes us feel good that you're using some type of ad blocker on your network. Might not really be doing much to reduce the amount of traffic on your personal information and your personal data. So it's freaky stuff. Abraham Artemis, it's Skynet, I tell you, Skynet. And this is a great question. I mean, this is why I want us to keep having conversations about this stuff and not to just go instantly to the sky is falling from 20 Miles 1975. Can there ever be a perfect balance between knowing everything about you and still having large seamless integration? I'd be inclined to think with companies' behavior, more data, even if intrusive, is where they'll lean. And I completely agree. If you grew up like I did, especially around the same time that I did, it was impossible to not be a tech fan and be influenced by Star Trek or Star Trek The Next Generation, where you just casually voice a command out into the air and an omnipresent computer system can give you a relevant reply or change the behavior of something that you're interacting with. And in the 80s, that's magic. Today, it's reality. But making everything a profitable behavioral model of data and making data the fuel which operates these extremely complex monetary systems is where in my opinion, is where we're running into trouble. In the future, with more on-device machine learning algorithmic responses, I think that there is every opportunity to have your pocket computer know everything about you and correctly predict your behavior in a variety of situations and circumstances, but then also keeping it all local. When I hear those little changes like Google is changing predictive text in your keyboard and making it a local bucket of data on your behavior, I don't have hope that Google's just going to overnight change their business policy, but I do have hope that we could see market disruption where all of your stuff doesn't have to go up for analysis on someone else's server. Your audio recordings don't need to be sent to Amazon engineers so that they can listen in on what you ask your smart speaker. We want to get to a point where we can harness all of that algorithmic manipulation of our day, but keep it in a bucket that we have control over. And that to me is the utopian solution, is the perfect unicorn. I don't think we'll get there. I think 20 Miles 1975 is probably more correct, that corporations are going to continue profiting off of this stuff, so they're going to continue extracting as much of it as they can. But my hope would be we eventually get to a point where this data isn't necessarily valuable. And because it's not valuable, there's no incentive to make it, to collect it to that degree. But we can store it locally so that it can still benefit us in that beautiful Star Trek science fiction-y kind of way. LFA reviews. Computer. Tea. Earl Grey. Hot. Oh, and Fat Produce has finally joined the live chat, just as we're getting ready to talk about some Reddits. So I kicked off this podcast airing my grievances against communities like our Apple and our iPhone, just basically being sycophantic echo chambers, all there to sort of pat each other on the backs for being the cool kids at the lunch tables. I have a subreddit, which is not the cool kid table. It's very small, but it's growing. We actually saw quite a few new followers and subscribers over this last week, and continuing to be an exciting place for me to find new content. It's never been more difficult for content creators to get their stuff shared, to get their stuff seen, to please the YouTube algorithms. Like my Focals review just got utterly savaged by the popularity algorithm at YouTube, and I'm still super cranky about that. But utilizing something like a social service like Reddit, we can start to try and change some of that behavior, and we can start to try and change how people find new stuff, new voices in the tech community, new reviewers, new science, new topics, and then also ways that we can help other creators who maybe aren't thriving under this sort of newer flavor of YouTube algorithm. There are content creators out there that you love who aren't doing well with some of these algorithmic changes. They deserve more attention than they're really getting. You can see their numbers, their channel stats not doing very well. So I created a subreddit. It's reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. And the mission is to try and create opportunities, echo chambers, and visibility for content creators who you feel deserve more attention. Every week we talk about some of the more popular stories that make it to the top. And every week I'm always excited to see the diversity of content that people are sharing and upvoting. Like I said, still super, super small. We can always use more content being shared, but we can really always use more upvotes, more comments. And then from there, if something is popular on our glowing rectangles, there's an opportunity there for you to share that to another larger subreddit, to cross-post it, or to try and find other audience for people that you care about, for content creators that you want to see more from. If you're not an active participant in sharing and in supporting this content, then it's very likely that those newer content creators burn out over time, because this stuff is hard. And without some kind of support, without some kind of encouragement, it gets pretty rough. So these are the top stories of the last week on our glowing rectangles. Let me go back into screen share here. Number one, a OnePlus 7 Pro versus Sony Xperia 1 daylight camera comparison from the Pixel Peepers. Pixel Peepers, they've been doing these camera comparison videos for a while now. They're still at 6,000 subscribers. They deserve to have more viewers on their channel. And a very consistent approach to looking at photo and video quality from a variety of different phones. What a great showdown. Again, Sony still makes phones, the Xperia 1? No, I mean, like, this is actually a really interesting showdown because triple camera to triple camera, I would say that the OnePlus has a hardware advantage, but can that hardware advantage on a OnePlus overcome some of the new software that we see on the Xperia 1? And to find out, you should check out Pixel Peeper's video, because that's, excuse me, that's a fresh comparison. That's not something that I've seen a lot of on the YouTubes. The second top story, PC build time-lapse Trisha Hirschberger. So Trisha, my sister from another Mista, is finally refreshing her home rig, and she's getting a little help from AMD. She's finally getting a new system, and it's not Team Intel, it's Team Ryzen, rising up to the challenge. And she's been overdue. Her streaming rig, she recently did a stream with playing Control. And streaming and playing from the same rig, not so great on her older Intel system. But she got hands-on help from AMD. And so they put together a time lapse just showing how the whole system was put together. I think the actual build took them about 2 hours, which is also just really, really cool. Like, I like Trisha because she's kind of goofy. She's super silly, but she actually does know her stuff. And the system that she ends up with is a really pretty new gaming PC build. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. That's on her personal channel. And then rounding out the top three, we've got LFA reviews looking at the Lipertech Tevi True Wireless Earbuds audiophile level sound. So LFA, definitely my favorite reviewer for reviewing true wireless earbuds. He actually got me back into true wireless because I had written them off with the popularity of the AirPods. But he's been plugging away at other options in this market, other options in this space. And again, just wonderful, consistent commentary on how he goes about crafting headphone reviews. If you're interested in true wireless, you're not necessarily, impressed by something like AirPods, you need to look at his channel and his series of Don't Buy Crappy Earbuds, because he's got a huge collection of in-depth examinations of great options that are often less expensive too. I mean, that's the beautiful thing, is you get away from some of the popular brand labels on this stuff and you'll find some great options. And I've been picking up a bit more wireless kit just because he's been showing it's not garbage. When I started playing with those first examples of true wireless earbuds, they were garbage. Now they're much, much better. So I'm happy to give him the plug, happy to give him a little extra support. But if we go back into glowing rectangles, you're going to see Tech Alter talking about curved screens. This is an amazing editorial. I love Tech Alter's commentary on the business side of mobile tech. OnePlus 7T versus ROG Phone 2. Bored at work. Consistently looking at how to review gaming performance on mobile devices. This is Jailbreaks talking about a new Samsung smartwatch with a touch bezel, fast charging, how to get call screening on a OnePlus 7 Pro. Look at how well the video is doing for Gary Explains on a speed test between the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XS. YouTube Studio for beginners. We've got the Gadget Chats podcast, only 156 subscribers. Go support another podcast tech chat from voices you probably have never heard before. So there is a huge and vibrant variety of content and commentary. I guarantee you go to our glowing rectangles, you will find some high quality content that you'd never seen before. And stuff that would probably never have made it to your YouTube recommended list, your YouTube front page, your subscriber list. No. You've got to find other communities that are really trying to share and promote this stuff. And so I'm always excited to talk about the subreddit to try and help push that, move that needle, and support content creators that need that little bit of a bump, that need a little bit more participation. Hopefully move the needle on getting those people monetized, on helping them build their audiences, That's probably one of the most important missions of this next couple years, is not letting Facebook-style algorithms completely wreck the communities that we say we care about. You care about tech, you need to keep the discussion fresh, or this stuff is boring and dead. If you're only going to say, only a couple YouTubers with millions of subscribers are relevant voices in this space, that's not the tech community I want to be a part of. Excuse me. Abraham Artemis, wow, no video from some jerk with a hat. It's my subreddit. It doesn't mean that my videos are always the top performers. In fact, that makes me really happy that other people are sharing videos on the subreddit, and it's not just my stuff that's at the top. But yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I hate that dude's face. He's got an amazing voice, and he's really good with microphones, but man, I want to punch that guy in the face so much. Matt Tyler, getting notification pushes on the last video, never usually receive a YouTube notification. And again, especially from following the conversation that I've had on my Discord server, and from my own personal Gmail accounts, my wife's Gmail account, like I put out a new video and all of us have smashed that bell icon and then there's no notification. Like I know YouTube is manipulating what you get to see based on what they think will keep you on YouTube longer, not what you actually said you want to see. So if you want to find new stuff, YouTube is not the place to look. You got to look elsewhere in other types of communities that are talking about more variety of content. And I'm hoping that this can be a good farming subreddit. I don't think Glowing Rectangles is ever going to be a top sub with, huge engagement and big numbers and big audiences. But if something can get a little bit more attention there, then hopefully it can get shared, cross-posted to another bigger subreddit or shared on another bigger platform that can then give it a bit more of a bump, a bit more of a boost. So I hope you'll check it out, reddit.com/r/glowingrectangles. Subscribe to it, give it a follow, participate, drop some comments, drop some upvotes. You'll be making someone's day. You'll be helping someone out who probably needs that little bit of a push, that needs that encouragement. So again, I for the people that have already jumped in, I can't thank you enough for supporting that cause. And for the people that are curious about what else there is to talk about, give it a try. You might like it. So that's the Reddit plug this week. Oh, excuse me. Man, I just can't quite clear that little tickle in the back of my throat. One more quick gadget-focused story. We still, again, I have to stay pretty short on this because we haven't seen the ramifications of this. But iPhones, security, exploits. What about jailbreaks? So like rooting a phone in Android and applying a custom ROM or really customizing the device, in Apple land, there's been this history, this cat and mouse game of finding some kind of flaw or exploit in iOS that then allows a community of developers and coders to manipulate the internals of that phone and allow you to do other things on your iPhone than Apple has traditionally let you do. Jailbreaking. Jailbreaking has been fairly quiet over the last couple generations of iPhones, and Apple actually has done a pretty good job of staying ahead of the traditional exploits that jailbreakers could take advantage of. But maybe that could be falling apart on iPhones from the iPhone 4S to the iPhone 10. This was kind of a big deal in iPhone communities and in sort of hacker communities. Coming by way of 9to5Mac, written up by Michael Potuck. New unpatchable iOS exploit could lead to permanent jailbreak for iPhone 4S to iPhone 10. Jailbreaks have decreased over the last few years. However, last month, a mistake by Apple saw a jailbreak for modern iPhones released, but it was quickly patched. Today, a security researcher has released what is claimed to be a permanent unpatchable boot ROM exploit for iPhone 4S all the way up to iPhone 10 that could lead to a permanent jailbreak. Twitter user Axiomics shared their iPhone exploit today called CheckM8. Get it? Checkmate. While they call it an epic jailbreak, it's important to note it's an exploit that could lead to a jailbreak with further work. However, if that potential is realized, Checkmate could be a big deal. From their tweet explaining more, this is from Axiomics. What I am releasing today is not a full jailbreak with Cydia. I actually am not well versed on jailbreak, so I'm mispronouncing all of this stuff, I'm sure. Just an exploit. Researchers and developers can use it to dump secure ROM, decrypt key bags with AES Engine, and demote the device to enable JTAG. You still need additional hardware and software to use JTAG. So, it's not news yet. Well, it is news, but we don't have the jailbreak yet, and there's still a few things that you need to take advantage of this exploit, especially when we're talking about needing to have some kind of hardware component involved. Interesting for two reasons. One, I always thought it was kind of interesting to see the hoops people would jump to for customization options on the iPhone that we just took for granted in Android land. But again, I always kind of like that disruptive vibe. I'm going to do something on my iPhone that Apple's not going to let me do, and that's kind of exciting to a very specific kind of consumer. The other thing that I think might be interesting to see, if this exploit and some hardware components are able to dump secure ROM and get around certain types of encryption, it is very likely that this could be in part how some of these companies that do business with law enforcement have been able to get around Apple's encryption. A crime happens, the FBI picks up an iPhone, there's this huge news and media push. Apple needs to build a backdoor into their devices so that law enforcement can get at important information, and then nothing ever really happens. And I've always respected Apple's position that they're not going to break their phone and make their phone less secure to help law enforcement. But then we see that cottage industry of other companies coming up that like to crack open iPhones for law enforcement. If there is some kind of exploit like that, I would imagine that we would probably see an uptick in the number of products and services that will allow you to get around iPhone security if we can find a way to properly utilize this exploit. Or if there's a way that Apple can create some kind of in-betweener patch. So, like, let's say you're able to dump this ROM, but to get around it, you've got to do something which requires you to reset the phone. Well, then that's less valuable. It's totally valuable for a jailbreaker. They'll wipe the phone out, do the jailbreak, customize the phone, and then put their information back on it. But it might not be valuable to law enforcement if you've got to nuke the device first. So, again, there are a lot of moving parts in play here. It could be really, really interesting to see, though. I'd love to see what a jailbreak iPhone 10 might be capable of. In many of the same ways that I've been super critical of Apple, like, I don't think they let you really tap the full power of the phone. My iPhone XS doesn't really perform any better in daily use than my iPhone SE. Maybe there are some ways to remove those throttles. Maybe there are some ways to get around some of the blocks that Apple puts on you for file management. Maybe there's a way to make this platform run a bit more open for grown-ups who would like some of those additional capabilities. So I'm curious. I mean, like, it's one of those things, if we do see some kind of proper jailbreak, I'd be tempted to go and pick up an old iPhone 10 and see, what does that look like? It's been so long since I've really looked into an iPhone jailbreak. Again, I mean, we've been seeing this arms race kind of hammer the jailbreak community since the iPhone 5. Yeah, I'm curious. Color me curious. From Pakostin, the usual price for a jailbreak is at least one good lesson on making backups. Those firmware upgrades were painful. And yeah, as soon as the jailbreak came out, man, Apple was real quick to like, okay, well, here's the new operating system update, and it's going to break your jailbreak. Gary the Fireman, pretty sure 60 Minutes covered an Israeli company that could basically crack any phone. And yeah, it's not magic, but this is why we need to have that kind of consumer law enforcement arms race, in my opinion. You know, you don't purposely make the device compromised so that good guys can get in there and see what's going on the device. It's that law enforcement needs to build a better battering ram when you make a better lock. So there are numerous companies. I can't remember the name of the company that focuses on the iPhone, but it's basically like they had a box and you plug the phone in and the box would sit there and just decrypt stuff like crazy. And law enforcement was able to get into iPhones without needing to make crazy vulnerable backdoors on their products. Abraham Artemis, Apple won't let us customize their phones. Jailbreakers. Fine, I'll do it myself. Oh, and from Zalbotnik, same in the Netherlands. The Dutch CIA hacked PGB. This is what security looks like. It's not, oh, it's encrypted. It's, what's current, and how do you play that cat and mouse game? All right, one more sip of water from here. So, who's excited about an all-screen phone? Anyone? Anyone super excited? Anyone? I'm not super excited. I'm not particularly excited about waterfall displays and wraparound screens. Matt Tyler, no. Matt Tyler is not excited about all-screen devices. So if you... So maybe you enjoy your phone, but you were thinking to yourself, man, just my phone is way too durable. And it's just too easy to repair. And things like being able to control the volume or turn the phone on and off, way too easy. If you're that consumer, then Xiaomi has the product for you. And that product is the Mi Mix Alpha. It's coming by way of lily putting, but I mean, everyone's been talking about this phone. It's a limited edition phone. So I got to give Xiaomi some credit that they're not trying to say that this is in its first generation of a full wraparound screen, that this is the path for all of their devices. This is kind of to me, it's more practical than a Galaxy Fold, but it is a limited response, a limited edition device for showing off sort of a radical new design. But it's basically all glass except for where the camera strip and maybe where some of the radio kit lives. I'd love to see a teardown on this phone and just see what is under this one metal strip. But the screen wraps around the sides and all the way back to the back of the phone, except for that one strip cutout. They call it a 180% screen to body ratio. But it's all glass. So thankfully, it's not plastic like a Galaxy Fold. So it's not going to be fragile in that sense. But this is a device that you can never drop, that is scratchable across the entire viewing surface of this wraparound display. And because this device is all screen, you don't have traditional controls. There is no power button because you don't have a cutout in the glass display to fit a power button. There is no volume rocker because you don't have a cutout to have a hardware switch for a volume rocker. So their solution is to make those interactions more complicated. I'm considering an editorial on gestures for Android, kind of similar to what I did for the iPhone XS. I just think gestures are a poor replacement for the button-like interactions we used to have. I'm playing with like a side swipe on my OnePlus 7T, and it is not nearly as efficient as just tapping a back button. One little button tap takes you back. A side swipe, you have to nail the interaction with the side of the screen. And then that also, you have to do it in a way where if the app has any side-to-side scrolling, that you don't just slide the app. That's not progress. That doesn't make the interaction with your phone better. And same thing, going home used to just be one little tap. Now you have to hit that bottom edge and swipe up. And the thing that really drives me nuts is because I love tapping quickly to go back and forth between apps. Again, you used to have your multitasking view just with a light tap. Now you have to swipe up, hold, pause, wait for the phone to realize that you're not going home, and then it'll pop to give you your multitasking view. It's more complicated. It fails more often than just lightly tapping a button. It is not nearly as easy when you want to toggle back and forth. So you used to just go pop, 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 and you could go from one app to the other, one app to the other, and go very easily flip back and forth, and you can't do that with a gesture. None of this stuff got better. So now I want you to take something as common as altering the volume on your phone. And now you've got to add an additional double tap to the side of the phone to engage volume commands that you can't feel. They're just on a screen on the side of your phone, a completely surfaceless device, and then you can control the volume on the device. You have to wake up the volume rocker before you can use the volume rocker. All at the same time, the device is going to be radically more fragile, significantly more expensive. I mean, just the device itself is going to be significantly more expensive, but repairing the device is going to be significantly more expensive. This is not progress. Again, when I see stuff like this to me says manufacturers have zero faith in actual innovation and that the smartphone is dead. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make more fragile, more expensive vanity products to extract more wealth out of the smartphone community. It's an incredible, an amazing design experiment. Again, like from the first Galaxy Note 4 Edge and the Galaxy S6 Edge curved screens, they're going to look so cool propped up in a case under museum lighting. But that's not a practical daily lifestyle companion gadget. That's I have a lot of money vanity gadget. But the one thing I do want to give credit here to is something that I actually would like to see on other devices. Instead of making the screen wrap around, instead of making the edges of this fragile and glass, I can make this photo a little bigger. I don't know why I was making you look at the smaller version of this photo. I really want to see a manufacturer put a small display on the back of the phone, no more notch on the front screen, but make the sides just regular side phones, but put a little mini display right by your camera. And that way, you have the ability to compose your selfies off of the really good cameras on your phone. And it's the design it's the one part of the design I like about this Mi Mix. I think that would be a great consumer benefit. The back of your phone is going to be made out of a dumb material like glass anyway, so put a screen back there, and then you only have to have one set of cameras. You don't have to have a dumb selfie camera cutout. That to me just makes so much sense, and I really wish someone would do that instead of making this fragile abomination of glass. Oh, we got a couple comments on this. From Fat Produce, I'm not excited for all the ghost touches with curvy displays. And also, you've got to have software that can tell the difference between I meant to touch there and I didn't mean to touch there. From Zalbotnik, general consumers they want a beautiful looking phone and that thing will sell. People don't think about impracticality. Just look at all the glass backs on phones while people don't use wireless charging. Well, and also look at all of the phones that are shattered and people just keep using them. So again, you're totally right there. It's just at some point there's got to be a breaking point, right? Where consumers are looking at it just like, I look at this thing cross-eyed and it's scratched. I dropped this thing on carpet and it shattered 360 degrees of the phone. From Vazicos 8. Too fragile? You're dropping it wrong. From LFA Reviews, John Prosser said, quote, designed by the comments section of an unbox therapy video. Abraham Artemis, watching porn on that will be interesting. And from Andy, I'm so sorry, Andy Panayawitao? I have no idea how to pronounce your last name, Andy. Frame it, put it on a wall or a shelf, call it art. This isn't a phone in any usable way. LFA Reviews, hard pass on this device. And LFA also saying, I'm glad the Pixel 4 is going with a flat display. So happy to see a few holdouts. Well, if only we could get that same kind of love for headphone jacks. From Pat Gostin, the removal of back button is a great analogy as well. From Matt Tyler, this market needs compromise, not innovation. And Kiwi Mad Dog 420, that button on the top is the power button, by the way. So yeah, there is a little, I didn't realize that, there is a little nubbin on the top of the Mi Mix. So apparently they realized for turning the screen on and off, you need a button. But you know what? So this is so frustrating. Okay, let me go back into here. The Mi Mix Alpha, you've got this metal strip. You've got these cameras. I get it. We need a dozen cameras on our phones. Why not build the volume rocker into this strip here? I know there's an engineering challenge and there are reasons, and you crack the thing open and you'll see where they had to make compromises on the logic board and everything else too. But one of the things that I miss most about those older LG devices was having the fingerprint sensor and the volume rocker in one strip under the cameras. That was a great ergonomic difference. You had to hold and use the phone in a slightly different way, but I liked that one finger, so much control over how you could operate the phone. Why not do that here? And even if you didn't want it to be a button, you could make that a capacitive pad, I guess. You swipe up and it makes the volume go up. You swipe down, it makes the volume go down. But you would have an actual interaction with the one tactile part of the phone that has a hardware difference on it. And you don't have to do this, let me double tap to turn on the volume rocker before I change the volume. Again, for all these people, you made the joke about watching porn. How many times you've had like a video play in a situation where probably wasn't appropriate for your phone to be making noise. Now you've got to wake up the volume rocker before you can get it to turn back down again. From Noob Masterix, ZTE, the Nubia X. I really wished that they had brought that here to the United States. That Nubia X second screen for the camera was phenomenal. Abraham Artemis, glass is glass and glass breaks. Some phone breaker guy. Well, that's Zach. Come on. Although I've been saying the same thing for a while. I've been saying the same thing since the Note 4. When my Note 5 took a tumble at waist height and liquefied the internals, and that phone was just utterly destroyed, where my Note 4 had taken way more damage, way more abuse than my Note 5 ever had. It got me off that glass train. Not impressed by glass. Glass is a dumb thing to make the back of your phone out of. All right. Let me scroll down here, see if there are any other. Ooh, that's actually a good point. Zabotnik, I think the e-ink back on the Yoda phone was a good idea. I thought that was a really cool idea of how you could shift up usage. Again, sorry, I'm really trying not to cough right into the mic. If we're burdened with a glass back, having some additional functionality, I think is a good idea. But I'd also want the sides and how you reinforce the phone to be more durable, not less durable. Matt Tyler, Sapphire phones. I don't think harder materials will necessarily solve this problem. It'll make those devices more scratch resistant, but it might not always make them more drop survivable. So Sapphire was amazing as a screen, like on my little Kyocera. I had that Kyocera Brigadier that had the Sapphire display, and I raked concrete over that phone screen, and it's pristine. It survived beautifully. But it might not actually be better for a drop. It might actually be more brittle, where it might crack easier if you drop that on a hard surface. So again, lots of things that we need to look at in material sciences to fix these kinds of problems. But Abraham Artemis, we're eventually going to need diamond. From Robin's talk, glass is a smart thing to make the back of your phone out of. Phone case makers get to sell so much more volume. Well, and again, I look at something like the Mi Mix, I look at fragile tablets like the Galaxy Fold. Making your device super destructible is a good business move. It means people have to flip their phones more aggressively and buy more stuff. So yeah, I mean, like if consumers are holding onto their phones for 3 years now, why don't we make the device destroy itself in 18 months? Problem solved. Now they have to buy a new phone because it's literally falling apart on them and cracking and shattering and destroying itself. So that's enough news. This podcast is already running long. I was hoping to keep it to 2 hours. My voice is holding out, though. So I do want to get to our last focus, our last spotlight topic. And that is my weekend. Oh, there's a hair under the case. That's gross. My weekend with the OnePlus 7T. So this actually arrived on Friday. I wasn't able to pick it up until Saturday morning, and I fired it up. And I haven't been able to do as much with it as I'd hoped I would. But this is the OnePlus 7T. Screen's way too bright for my camera's exposure. I'm going to angle this the other way so I have a little bit more room on my right-hand side. There we go. So this is the $599 super powerful Android handset, the first phone out of the box with Android 10. It's even beating the Pixel for being the first Android 10 device. Is it the first phone? Someone correct me. This one I don't know. Is it the first phone with the Snapdragon 855 Plus? Because it's not officially shipping yet to the United States, but this might be one of the first phones. We can easily say it's one of the first phones with this newer, more powerful variant of the Snapdragon 855. And it's very much in keeping with the traditional OnePlus smartphone model. It's more of a kart racer hot rod of a phone than a premium luxury device. So if you have like a OnePlus 7 Pro, that's got all of the Lexus bells and whistles at a lower price than an iPhone. This phone is more about just getting you to screaming fast performance on your daily driver kit. 1080p display, but it's got the 90 hertz refresh rate. Triple camera array on the back. Now all OnePlus phones have your triple camera. In-display fingerprint sensor, improved biometric. Well, now it's not unlocking on my thumbprint. I still think the OnePlus 7 Pro has a better fingerprint sensor than this OnePlus 7T. I'm going to have to retrain this and make sure I didn't miss an update or something like that. But just all around, getting us back to what OnePlus used to represent. $599, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. This is a clear shot at phones like the iPhone 11. where you might have to make a few other compromises. Some things aren't as nice, but you've got like an Apple A13 chipset against a Snapdragon Qualcomm. So this is rightfully garnering a ton of excited commentary, because I think a lot of people, I still don't understand why, but a lot of people had their feathers ruffled when the OnePlus 7 Pro came out and the price was higher. You got a lot of stuff on the OnePlus 7 Pro, but I think, you know what, let's be fair. I think one of the things that was frustrating to a lot of people here in the United States is we got the OnePlus 7 Pro, but we didn't get the OnePlus 7. So we didn't get the sort of traditional OnePlus. We only got the premium OnePlus. And if you wanted to save $50, you could get a OnePlus 6T for a while. The OnePlus 7T at least brings us back to how can we maximize that price-performance ratio in a world of $1,000 4G smartphones. So I do understand why this is getting that kind of excitement that, well, this is the real OnePlus and it's more powerful and it's got all the things you need and it doesn't have all of that extra fluff that you don't need. But it's never just quite as cut and dry as all that, right? It's there's other stuff going on. Like, there could still be reasons why someone might want to pick up a OnePlus 7 Pro instead of the OnePlus 7T. From Zalbotnik, the Xperia 5 has the 855 as well. Does the Xperia 5 have the 855 Plus? This has the Snapdragon 855 Plus, which is super annoying that Qualcomm has changed their processor designation. So like with the Snapdragon 820, that was the top of the line chipset, and then the 821 was a refresh, slightly better performance. So we have the 855. Why not do the 857? Why do 855 plus? I hate it when we're tacking on extra words and things when we have a numbering designation that makes sense. But I digress. From Zalbotnik, oh, that's faster after announcement. I think the ROG2 is the first released phone with the 855 Plus then. Okay, so we're Xperia 5, ROG2, and OnePlus 7T are the first phones with the 855 Plus. From Trey916, how's that vibration motor? It's supposed to be better. Is it LG quality? So, from the OnePlus 7 Pro and now to this OnePlus 7T, yes, the haptics have gotten much, much better. The one thing I would still tag OnePlus for, almost all of the hardware has been tweaked and is better and is nicer and is more exciting, and we're still having some of those issues with OnePlus software. So you get that immediate feel when I do. It's not doing it now. I have to retrain this fingerprint sensor. It is driving me nuts, and I never had these kinds of issues on my OnePlus 7 Pro. But when you get that little pop for the fingerprint sensor, and actually when you fail to unlock the phone with the fingerprint sensor, you get that little Apple trill, brrrt, brrrt, right under your fingerprint, right under your fingertip, right under your thumb. When you're typing, it's not that fuzz, 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 fuzz feel that you had on the OnePlus 6T. It's that pop, 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 pop. Everything is a lot cleaner. It's a lot sharper. But I don't think they're taking full advantage of it. Where LG is exciting is when you hit a dial in the camera app and you feel that scroll under your finger, and it feels like you're clicking a dial, not just swiping a line on a piece of software. And that's the kind of stuff I'd really like to see OnePlus start incorporating more of, is that feel of improving the haptics and how that influences those interactions with other apps and services. That to me would be pretty cool. Also, I'm going to be putting out a video this week doing sort of a little showdown between the 7 Pro and the 7T, because I feel like tech reviewing has just gotten a little lazy. Oh, the 7T has the Snapdragon 855 Plus and the 7 Pro only has the Snapdragon 855, so it's game over. Why would you ever buy this phone? This one has the bigger giggle flips than this one, so that's the only metric that matters, is having a processor that marketing materials show a 15% longer bar graph. That's it. Game over. Let's ignore all of the differences and the nicer things on the 7 Pro and some of the hardware that's incorporated on the 7 Pro that the 7T doesn't have. All you should care about is the newest processor. That's it. So I get why there's this kind of community excitement about getting the 7T, especially the 7T here in the United States, and seeing $599, where this phone to me is easily an iPhone 11 killer. But it's not as simple as 855 plus better than 855. Obviously, I wanted to see what some of those performance differences would really look like. So I played some games and I saw some performance differences where maybe leaning towards the 7T, but not to the tune of 15 to 20% like marketing materials have claimed that you can get up to a 15% bump out of the 855 plus. I also maybe took a look at things like video rendering performance, synthetic benchmarks, comparing single core performance against multi-core performance. And while I'm sure just chipset to chipset, the 855 plus is a little bump more powerful than the 855, things like the OnePlus 7T having thermal hardware, little liquid cooling pads to help get heat out of the phone more efficiently, seem to have a noticeable impact on performance. And these two phones are so much closer in a lot of the tests that I've been conducting than your chipset claims would lead us to believe. Especially when we look at things like having substantially a higher resolution display on the OnePlus 7 Pro. And I am definitely keeping it at Quad HD. I am not slumming my OnePlus 7 Pro with 1080p. So I'm gonna have some conversations about that. I'm gonna have some comparison videos. I also want to take a look back at the OnePlus 6T and see like how far have we really come from 1 year to the next. Would this phone be worthy of a 1-year upgrade? And I'm going to try and have those videos out this week on the channel. But at least in just that first weekend, at $600, this represents a stonking good buy. Again, you want to be shopping a phone today. It's not a, like, oh, should I flip a phone that I really like? I don't know that's an easy question to answer. But where we're looking at the market, and where we look at OnePlus and how they've managed to retain the value of their devices far better than a lot of other Android manufacturers. Like, I've been seeing OnePlus 6T still selling for around $400 on Swappa. Not like new in box. We're talking used phones that are outselling Galaxy S9s that sold for less when they originally launched. So they're keeping a lot more of their value than devices that started out at much higher price points. OnePlus is starting to be that brand that instills a lot of confidence in not only how can they disrupt the current price performance model and ratio, but then also how they continue to support their products over time, and how when you're ready to get rid of one of them, you don't lose as much on your resale as some other manufacturers like Samsung. So it's been a happy experience, but I don't think it's a clear winner against the OnePlus 7 Pro today. And that's the last thing that I think we that's the last thing that we kind of need to take a look at in OnePlus's strategy here. They spread out this year a lot more than I was expecting. At the beginning of the year, we got the OnePlus 7 and the OnePlus 7 Pro with a slight delay on a OnePlus 7 Pro 5G. Here in the United States, the OnePlus 7 Pro went to T-Mobile, And Sprint picked up the OnePlus 7 Pro 5G about, a month and a half before the OnePlus 7T was announced. And at OnePlus's event, we didn't hear any news about a OnePlus 7T Pro. Now, of course, the rumor machine is in high gear. Are we going to see a Pro variant on the 7T? Is it basically going to be a OnePlus 7 Pro with the 855 Plus chipset? Can you do a component swap like that? But if we end up getting that, then that means we'll have had a year where OnePlus potentially launched 6 devices in 1 year. And that's a lot. One of the things that makes this such a charming brand is that they support their products for a really long time. The OnePlus 3T got a Pi update, and it's entirely possible we could see them do something like deliver Android 10 to a variety of much older phones. And we're watching the Galaxy S8 not get Android 10. We might see that on a comparative OnePlus. From Andy in the live chat. Well, my old spaceship goes to Mars in 20 seconds, but the new one gets there in 19.96 seconds. So obviously I threw the old snail away. Matt Tyler, I'll be looking at 1080p and 120 hertz tomorrow. I think Matt Tyler is going to get his hands on an ROG phone. And on Ant, you can get a new OnePlus 7 on Amazon for around $440. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like there's like a consumerism and a philosophy. We had this excitement in smartphones years back where a 1 year difference could mean radically new technologies, screen resolutions, camera performance. The script I've written for the OnePlus 7T versus the OnePlus 6T, I actually was kind of surprised how much we were able to iterate from the 6T to the 7T. None of it's radical. None of it's revolutionary new smartphone performance. But you look at the full list of every little aspect of the devices that got improved, and it's encouraging. Like, there are still things we can do to make our phones better. Trying to do the same with the OnePlus 7 Pro and weighing your price performance ratios. The OnePlus 7T is a $600 phone. The OnePlus 7 Pro starts at $660. Is that $60 price premium worth it for your monies? I mean, it's all just horrific clickbait. But again, there's a beautiful algorithm trick for telling people what they want to hear. People want to hear that their $600 OnePlus 7T is objectively better. It's the better phone. Who needs a Pro? Do you need a Pro? Come on, bro. Do you need a Pro? But again, it's more nuanced than just 855 plus better than 855. Get the 7T. And now we need to see if there's going to be a 7T Pro. So it's interesting. So lots of videos coming out this week because I lost 3 days of production last week and I had all this stuff ready to go. Now I need to edit it, finish it up, polish it up. I'm probably going to have another video out this afternoon just on some headphones. So yeah, good times, real good times. We made it through. It's only 10 minutes over my normal podcast run. I only had to move the camera twice, so it's good. Kiwi Mad Dog 420, bro, do you even pro? Do you even pro, bro? Bro? Oh, Matt Tyler, I'll live stream with Juan next week covering the ROG. I want you to live stream from the ROG. That's what I want you to do, Matt. I want you to set up a live stream on Streamlabs, now owned by Logitech, and show me what that thing can do while you're streaming some gameplay. Because I love seeing a really well captured mobile live stream. So headphones. I've got some Helm. I finally wrapped up my thoughts on the True Wireless 5. I've got an LG neckband. Look, LG finally came out with some new headphones, some new tones. Look at that. How crazy is that? Creative. Marathon. 14-hour battery life. True wireless. The Outlier Gold. That review's coming out. 2 videos coming out on the OnePlus 7T, comparing it to the 6T and the OnePlus 7 Pro. I'm finally wrapping up my LG V50 long-term review. So much stuff coming out, folks. I'm just glad you're all along for the ride because we've got a variety of really cool tech topics to cover. So definitely subscribe, follow, share, find other YouTube content creators and not just YouTube, find other tech content creators across all of the internet. If they have their own blogs, maybe they're uploading their videos to Vimeo. I don't know. But if you've got someone that you think deserves more attention, please check out the subreddit, reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. Of course, you can catch me. I'm Juan Bagnell on YouTube. But if you search for Some Gadget Guy across the internet, you're going to find me pretty much everywhere. And you also know that I'm going to be back here next Monday morning on another episode of the SGG QA Podcast Monday Morning Tech Chat Show. More news, more gadgets, more reviews. Hopefully covering more of the fun stuff because I get too cranky too fast. But I'm going to be here, so I think you should be here. And I want to thank everybody. This was an amazing live chat. Again, as always, y'all keeping me sane that I know I've got a fun community of people to have these conversations with. Keeps me doing this stuff, making this stuff, and sharing this stuff. So catch me back here next week, twitch.tv/SomeGadgetGuy across the rest of the streaming platforms. You can always catch the audio recap on any of your favorite podcasting services, where, again, if you want to share the audio version of this or give it a review, greatly appreciated. Help bring more people to these streams, help bring more people to these conversations. And I'll catch you back here next week on another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show. I want you to have a fantastic week with your technology. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want you to be awesome with your technology. And I'll catch you again here next time. Take care. Be well. I love you all.